40 millimeters of British steel against the best German killers. Our Valentine tank near Rzhev was called the hole punch. It could punch through paper, but it was useless against the frontal armor of heavy Panzers. According to all the laws of physics, we were dead men before the fight even started. The order was simple and insane: a frontal attack across soaking wet clay. It wasn't a battle, it was an execution. And then the commander made a decision that crossed out the rule book. We turned into rats, cornered in a pit. We became ghosts in the thick fog. But no one knew that this small, weak box hiding in the mud would organize a real hunt for giants. This is the story of how cold calculation defeated brute force, and why sometimes you have to become a deserter for 5 minutes to win the war. The Rzhev clay in November of 1942 is not just mud. It is a substance that devours metal and people with equal indifference. It clogs the grouses, sticks to the road wheels in clumps weighing tons, and turns any movement into torture for the transmission. We are standing in a low spot, covered by a grey, damp fog that seems like it never lifts here. My tank is a Valentine, Modification 3, a British Lend-Lease gift. From the outside, it looks almost like a toy against the backdrop of endless Russian fields, but inside, it is a tight steel box smelling of diesel, wet sheepskin, and someone else's fear. Around us is a graveyard. If you look through the periscope, you can make out black, twisted skeletons. These are T-70s and BTs, the light cavalry of the Red Army, which burned here a week ago. Their armor is 15-20 millimeters. German anti-tank guns punched right through them from 1.5 kilometers away. The crews didn't even have time to realize they were already dead. We are still alive. Alive only because British engineers, unlike our designers of light tanks, didn't skimp on the iron. The front of the Valentine is 60 millimeters of quality English steel. That's more than the legendary T-34. It is our only insurance. But this insurance has a price, and we pay it every second of waiting. The driver mechanic, wedged into his compartment in the center of the hull, kills the engine. The GMC diesel falls silent. It runs quieter than the roaring motors of our tanks, softer, more intelligent, if that word is even applicable to a machine of murder. But silence right now is more dangerous than noise. In the silence, the cold chills you to the bone instantly. British equipment isn't designed for Russian frosts. Metal inside the hull gets covered in frost. We sit pressed against each other, but the tightness of the Valentine, created for slight English tankers, becomes unbearable when you're wearing padded trousers, a quilted jacket, and a sheepskin coat. The turret is designed for 2, but in winter gear, we are like sardines in a can. Any movement of an elbow is a blow to a comrade's ribs, or the breech of the gun. "Are we going to be standing here much longer, Sergeant?" The loader's voice creaks in the headset. "My feet are freezing. Can't feel my toes anymore." I look at the breech of our main caliber, 40 millimeters, a 2-pounder gun. In the documents, this is called firepower. In reality, it is a death sentence. We have no high-explosive fragmentation shells. None at all. British doctrine didn't foresee that a tank would have to fight infantry. For them, a tank is a fighter of its own kind. We are a hole punch. We can pepper enemy vehicles with lead, but we are powerless against a dug-in machine gun crew or an anti-tank battery. To kill a Fritz at a gun, I need to hit him directly with a solid slug. A direct hit with a metal slug on a human being, it's absurd. It's shooting at sparrows with a sniper rifle while the world is collapsing around you. "We stand until they give the command," I answered dryly. "Better to freeze than to burn. Look to the right. See that little mound? That's the turret of a T-60. They probably wanted to get warm too. The loader is silent. He knows the arithmetic of survival no worse than I do. We all know the specs of our machine and the specs of the enemy. Ahead, on Hill 208, sit the Germans. They have Panzer IVs, late models with long-barreled 75mm guns. They punch through our vaunted 60mm forehead from a kilometer away. And us? Our 40mm toothpick can take them head-on only from pistol range. 300 meters, no further. And that's only if we get lucky and hit a flat plate, not the gun mantlet. We are blind kittens against wolfhounds. Our only tactic is stealth, a low silhouette, and maneuver. But what the hell kind of maneuver is possible in this clay, where the tracks sink up to the fenders? Sergeant Korneyev, that's me, they consider me lucky. But luck has nothing to do with it. War is physics and geometry. The angle of impact of the shell on the armor, the flight speed of the slug, the density of the ground, visibility in the scope. I am alive because I know how to count. I know that a heroic frontal attack on this sector of the front is guaranteed death for the crew and loss of the machine. A dead hero can no longer shoot. A burnt tank won't delay the enemy. My task is to save this steel box and the 3 lives inside it until the moment when we can inflict real damage. But for now, we are just targets. Through the periscope, you can see the gray fog lazily rolling over the parapets of the trenches. Somewhere in the distance, about 3 kilometers away, a howitzer thumps dully. The sound arrives late, heavy and muffled. That's the heavy artillery reserve working. But that doesn't make it any easier for us. In front of us is a hill stuffed with PaK-40 anti-tank guns. These guns are death for any tank. Their low shields are almost invisible in the autumn grass and brush. They take the first shot at the track to immobilize, the second, into the side or under the turret. The crew that bails out of the crippled machine is gunned down with machine guns. It's a conveyor belt. An efficient German conveyor belt for processing Soviet people and Lend-Lease metal. "Sergeant," the mechanic's voice again. "The engine is cooling down. If we move now, it'll smoke like a locomotive. Maybe warm it up." "Belay that," I cut him off. "They'll see the smoke. They'll hear the sound. The Germans aren't idiots. They have observers sitting with Zeiss optics. They see exhaust. They'll bracket us with mortars. We sit quiet. Breathe into your collar." The Valentine is tight but reliable. Its suspension is amazing. Springs and bogies handle unevenness so well that your teeth don't chatter even over bumps. It's not a T-34, where after a march your spine crumbles into your underwear. But what use is a smooth ride if we are standing still? What use is quality assembly if we can't reach the enemy? We are hostages of a design compromise. We were created to support infantry, given armor to walk under bullets, but they forgot to give us a shell to destroy those machine guns. We are going into battle with a hole punch against a concrete wall. I wipe the eyepiece of the periscope with a rag. Condensation settles instantly. Inside the tank, the humidity is 100%. It smells of damp rubber insulation and gun oil. Hands in gloves go numb, but you can't take them off. Touching metal leaves a cold burn. We wait. War consists of 90% waiting and moving, and only 10% combat. But it is exactly those 10% that determine whether you return home or become part of the Rzhev landscape, like those guys in the burnt-out BTs. I look at them and see my possible future. Black soot on the armor, a torn-off turret, and silence. Eternal silence, which even the loudest order won't break. Static crackles on the airwaves. The wireless set number 19, another gift from the British. It works clearer than ours, but right now the air is clogged with noise. Fragments of phrases, Call signs of neighboring battalions break through the crackle. Someone is screaming. Someone is asking for fire. We are silent for now. We are the reserve of a strike that might never happen, or will happen too soon. I check the ammo rack. Solid slugs, black noses of armor-piercing tracers, 50 pieces of useless iron against infantry, and 50 chances at life if we meet a tank. The main thing is to see him first. The main thing is to be within striking distance. The main thing is not to panic when the order to die comes. And it will come. I feel it with my skin, with my back pressed against the icy armor of the engine bulkhead. The air thickens, like the fog outside. Time ceases to be linear. It freezes, turning into a sticky, cold eternity of waiting. The headset earphones explode with crackling, tearing the cottony silence of waiting. This sound I hate most of all. It is not the sound of an engine promising movement, and not the whistle of a mortar shell promising the end. It is the sound of a human voice bringing death on schedule. The voice of the company commander, Senior Lieutenant Sokolov, breaks through the static in a high, breaking falsetto. There is no steel in his tone, only the vibrating string of fear and desperation of a man who was just threatened with a tribunal from above. "Birch 1, to all birches!" he screams, swallowing the ends of words. "Listen to the combat order. Landmark 2, Hill 208. Enemy on the crest. Objective: attack head-on, knock out the screen, reach the highway. Speed. Main thing, speed. Do not stop. Birches, over." A heavy, tangible silence hangs in the tank. I look at the mechanic. His back in the quilted jacket tenses, shoulders rising to his ears as if he's trying to hide his head in his body like a turtle. Hill 208. On the map, it's just a brown, closed line with numbers. In reality, it is a bald, wind-blown hill turned by German sappers into an impregnable bastion. We know what's there. Intelligence reported it yesterday, but Regimental HQ apparently decided that pencil marks on paper were more important than real barrels sticking out of the ground. There are PaK 40s there, German 75mm anti-tank guns. Their penetration is over 100 millimeters at a kilometer distance. For them, our Valentine with its 60 millimeters of front is a cardboard box. For them, even the sloped armor of the company commander's T-34s is no problem. And the main thing, the ground. The slope of the hill is gentle, long, soaked by autumn rains. The clay there has turned into greasy, slippery grease. A tank won't go fast there. It will crawl, roaring with its engine, throwing out clouds of black exhaust, spinning its tracks, tearing up the turf, and presenting itself as an ideal, slow-moving target the size of a barn. "Attack head-on," the loader whispers. And in this whisper, there is more understanding of tactics than in all the company commander's shouts. "Sergeant, it's a shooting gallery. They'll pick us off like partridges." I am silent. What can I say? That the company commander is an idiot? No, he's not an idiot. Sokolov understands everything no worse than we do. I heard him yelling into the radio to the colonel half an hour ago, trying to explain that without artillery preparation and sappers, we'll all die there. But the colonel needs a check mark in the report by evening. He needs Hill 208 taken at any cost. And any cost, that's us. That's burnt meat, melted metal, and death notices flying to the rear. Sokolov goes to his death first, in his command T-34, and drags us with him because he has no choice. Behind him is an order and the special officer, and ahead are German armor-piercing shells. Of 2 deaths, he chose the one with honor. I remember last week, the same sector, just to the left, near the Round Grove. The first company attacked there. 10 vehicles, light T-70s and a couple of Lend-Lease stewards. They rushed out into the open space the same way, under the order, "Speed, don't stop." The Germans let them get within 500 meters. It wasn't a battle. It was an execution. I saw through binoculars as the lead vehicle flared up like a matchbox. The Stuart's gasoline engine leaves no chances. The rest started to scatter, get stuck, expose their sides. 7 minutes later, 8 bonfires were smoking on the field. 2 crawled back, dragging broken tracks behind them. No one reached the highway. No one knocked out the screen. Simply 8 crews ceased to exist, turning into casualty statistics. Now it's our turn. "Birch 4, why are you silent?" The company commander's voice breaks into a squeal. "Korneyev, damn it! Confirm reception!" I slowly press the throat microphone switch. A cold hoop squeezes my throat. Words have to be pushed out by force. "This is Birch 4. Order received. Attack Hill 208. Out." I let go of the button. My hand in the thick glove is trembling. Not from fear, no. From rage. From the cold, calculating rage of a professional who is forced to do an amateur's job with a tool not designed for it. My 2-pounder is a scalpel. I need to sneak up, find a vulnerable spot, strike exactly at a nerve cluster. And they are forcing me to use this scalpel like a sledgehammer, with a full swing head-on. It contradicts all the logic of war, all the physics of armor penetration, everything I was taught in training, and everything life has taught me. The mechanic turns around. In the gloom of the fighting compartment, his face is a white spot with dilated eyes. He is waiting for a miracle from me. He waits for me to say, "To hell with them, turn around and leave." But he knows I won't say that. The regulations are written in blood, but sometimes it seems they are written so that as much of this blood is spilled as possible. Failure to execute a combat order in a combat situation is execution on the spot. It's simpler than burning in a tank, faster and not as painful. But it is a disgrace. And disgrace for a Russian soldier is scarier than death, even one as senseless as this. "Start her up, Vasya," I command. My voice sounds alien, wooden. "First gear. We go in the rear guard. Keep distance from the commander's T-34, about 40 meters. If he stops, we need room to maneuver." The starter whines, and the Valentine's diesel comes to life. A steady, low vibration passes through the hull, through the seat, straight into the spine. This is the pulse of the machine. She is ready. She doesn't know she is being led to slaughter. She just burns diesel, rotates shafts, drives oil through tubes. Through the periscope, I see clouds of blue smoke bursting from the bushes ahead. That's Sokolov's T-34 starting up. Its wide, flat hull jerks, tracks spin in the mud, throwing out chunks of earth, and the tank, roaring, crawls out into the open. Behind it, the others move out. T-60s, small, nimble, completely useless boxes here with 20mm guns. T-70s with their twin automobile engines that stall from overheating or overcooling. And us, Valentines, British infantry steel. We crawl out of cover like a herd of doomed beasts driven out of a pen. The fog starts to lift, and that is the worst thing that could happen. Visibility improves. For us, to see our death. For the Germans, to aim better. I stick to the periscope. Hill 208 grows ahead as a gray, gloomy mass. On its slope, bushes and red patches of dug-up earth look black. The enemy is there. I don't see barrels, I don't see people, but I feel their gaze. A gaze through the crosshairs of a Zeiss optical sight. They see us. They are counting us. 1, 2, 5, 7 targets. They are distributing targets. Hit the commanders first. Second, the one on the left. They wait for us to approach the landmark where the terrain is ranged. There, by the broken birch tree. Sergeant, I'm scared, the loader exhales. He's just a kid, 19 years old. He hasn't understood yet that fear is fuel. If you burn it correctly, it gives focus. If you let it spill, it will burn you from the inside before a slug pierces the armor. It'll be scary when the turret jams, I cut him off roughly. Right now, work. Armor piercing in the breach. Move it. Scan sectors. Look for flashes. The clang of the breach sounds like the cocking of a hammer at a temple. We are entering the line of attack. Mud squelches under the tracks. The vehicle drifts from side to side. The mechanic fights the levers, trying to hold the course. Speed, 5 kilometers per hour. That is the maximum you can squeeze out on this soupy field. Speed, do not stop. The company commander's order rings in my head like mockery. We crawl. We simply crawl to meet physics, which has already passed its sentence on us. The first German shot sounds not loud, a dry, short crack, like the crack of a whip. This is deceptive acoustics. We hear the sound of the shell arriving before the sound of the shot, because the armor-piercing slug flies faster than sound. Ahead, about 50 meters away, a small T-60 stumbles on the move. It is tossed up like a kicked cardboard box. There is no flash, only a cloud of rusty dust and metal fragments. A shell of 75mm caliber, fired from a PaK-40, went through the light tank, tearing out the engine along with the rear plate. The machine freezes, and thick, oily smoke starts pouring from its hatches. The crew doesn't get out. It has begun. Our line of tanks breaks instantly. The formation, which on paper at HQ looked like a formidable steel avalanche, in reality turns into a chaotic cluster of targets. The clay does its job. The heavy T-34s moving on the flanks start to spin their wheels. I see the lead T-34 of Commander Sokolov yawing its nose. Its tracks, wide, created for Russian off-road conditions, are now powerless against this greasy loam mixed with ice chips. The tank roars, throwing out black caps of exhaust, but barely moves forward. It just grinds the ground beneath itself, digging in deeper, turning into a stationary pillbox. And a stationary tank on the battlefield lives exactly as long as the German gunner needs to turn the horizontal traverse wheel. Hell breaks loose on the airwaves. "Birch 2, I'm burning!" Someone's desperate scream drowns out the crackle of interference. "Driver is killed! Get us out!" "Forward! Don't stand!" Sokolov squeals. "Full throttle, everyone! Crush the firing points!" Crush? Crush with what? My Valentine crawls in second gear, and I feel the transmission howling from the strain. We won't make it. It is mathematically impossible. Still 400 meters to the crest of the hill. German batteries are firing point blank. A second T-60 flares up like a torch to our right. Gas tanks. Light tanks burn fast and bright. I see a man fall out of the fire, roll in the mud, trying to beat out the flames, but another explosion covers him completely. I look into the periscope. The sector of fire covers the entire field. Tracers of German shells draw lines in the air, and every line ends at our equipment. This is not a battle. This is an execution. If I continue moving straight, in 30 seconds, my crew will turn into charcoal, and the tank into a pile of scrap metal. Regulations demand going forward. The order demands going forward. The instinct of self-preservation screams back. But there is something else. Cold calculation. The logic of war, which says, a dead gun doesn't shoot. To the left, about 20 meters away, I notice the edge of a ravine, a deep washout, overgrown with bushes, going into the fog, away from the hill. This is a dead zone. German sites don't look there because you can't attack the summit from there. It's a dead end. But it is also cover. "Vasya, stop!" I bark into the throat mic. The tank dips its nose. Inertia throws us forward, straps digging into shoulders. "Left track back, right forward, pivot turn, move it!" In the headset, a second of stupor. The mechanic doesn't believe his ears. "Comrade Sergeant, the order..." His voice trembles. "Attack! The captain sees us! Execute!" I yell so hard my throat hurts. "Turn around and reverse into the ravine. Fast, you son of a bitch, or I'll shoot you myself." The mechanic yanks the levers. The Valentine shudders. The British gearbox allows doing this smoothly, but right now we are tearing the iron. The tank starts to spin in place, spraying mud. We expose our side to the blow. These are the scariest 5 seconds. The side armor of the Valentine is 30 millimeters. Any stray shell, even from a small caliber anti-aircraft gun, will turn us into a mass grave right now. I shrink into a ball, waiting for the impact, waiting for the sound of tearing metal. In the periscope, a panorama of the battle flashes by. A burning T-70, the frozen T-34 of the company commander with a blown track, fountains of earth from explosions, and now we are standing stern to the ravine. "Back! Full throttle!" The tank backs up. We slide into the unknown. It looks like flight. To everyone watching us right now, to the political officer in the rear, to the company commander in his crippled tank, to the infantry lying in the mud, we are cowards. We are deserters who left comrades to die. Sokolov's voice explodes in the headphones. He noticed. "Korneyev, stop! Stop, traitor!" he screams, choking on curses and rage. "Court-martial! I'll shoot you personally! Back, you bastard! Into battle! Birch 4, stop!" The mechanic sobs. I hear his heavy, ragged breathing. "Sergeant, they'll put us against the wall," he whines. "Our own guys will shoot us." "Drive!" I ignore the airwaves. I flip the switch to kill the reception so I don't hear the curses. Right now, only physics matters. The tank rolls over the edge of the ravine. The ground disappears from under the tracks. We aren't driving down, we are falling, sliding down the steep slope in a mess of clay and broken bushes. The multi-ton machine becomes an uncontrollable sled. The roar of branches hitting the armor, the scraping of the underbelly on stones, the roar of the engine running at limit RPMs. We are tossed around inside the fighting compartment. I hit my shoulder on the breech. The helmet saves my head from hitting the sight. Reverse gear carries the risk of flipping the machine. The Valentine has a high center of gravity. If we lay on our side here, at the bottom, we stay here forever. "Keep it steady! Don't brake!" I command, although I understand the mechanic is just a passenger right now. Gravity drives the tank. Impact. A hard, clanging blow of the stern against the bottom of the ravine. The tank jumps. Teeth clack together. The engine stalls. Silence falls instantly, dense as cotton. Only ringing in the ears and the smell of burnt clutch friction. We are at the bottom. Above us is about 5 meters of steep slope and the edge of the fog. Sounds of battle up there seem distant, muffled, as if from another world. Shells are bursting there. People are burning there. They are screaming on the radio there, cursing us. And here, dampness, gloom, and the gray walls of the ravine. The loader sits on the floor of the fighting compartment, hugging his knees with his arms. He is shaking. "We ran away," he whispers, staring at one point. "Sergeant, did we run away?" I look down at him. In his eyes is horror not of the Germans, but of what we did to our honor. In the Red Army, there is no word tactical retreat without an order. There is the word cowardice. And right now, that word is branded on our foreheads. We didn't run away, I say quietly but firmly. We changed position. Check the gun. Is the barrel bore clogged with dirt? What bore? He raises eyes full of tears to me. They'll shoot us, Sergeant, as soon as we climb out. If we climb out, I correct him. And to climb out, first we have to survive. And to survive, we have to kill those who are burning our guys upstairs right now. I switch the radio back to receive. The noise of battle bursts into the headsets. The screams have become fewer. The airwaves are filled with a monotonous hum and separate commands in German breaking through our frequencies. They are finishing them off. Methodically, calmly, like on exercises. The company commander is silent. Either his radio is dead, or he is. We are alone, in a damp pit, cut off from our own, cursed by our own, under the guns of strangers. But we are the only combat unit in this sector that has a working gun, a working engine, and a crew capable of breathing. Start her up, I tell the mechanic. Quietly, on low. Need to turn nose to the exit. We aren't going to hide here. We are going to hunt here. The mechanic slowly turns his head. Fear in his eyes is replaced by doom. He understands. There is no way back. There is no way up. There is only this ravine and what waits for us at the end of it. The starter whines, turning the cold shaft. The diesel sneezes and catches, throwing out a cloud of blue smoke which immediately mixes with the fog. I press against the periscope. Visibility is 0. Milk. But I know the map. This ravine stretches along the hill, going into the flank of the German position. If we pass along the bottom, don't get stuck and don't flip, we will end up where they don't expect us. There, where Panzers have sides, not frontal armor. There, where our 2-pounder will stop being a hole punch and become a weapon. It wasn't an escape. It was a run-up before a jump. But there is no one to explain this to right now. Only burning German tanks can become our justification. Or our own death. There is no third option. I turn the ignition key, breaking the circuit. The Valentine's diesel shudders one last time and freezes. Along with the vibration, the feeling of life leaves. We are at the bottom. 5 meters of clay slope hang over us, and further on, a layer of fog, dense as sour milk. We are in a blind zone. We are safe. And it is exactly here that the real hell begins. Sight is useless here. The periscopes are plastered with greasy mud thrown up by the tracks during the descent. But even if they were clean, seeing anything further than arm's length in this fog is impossible. We have gone blind. Gone blind voluntarily to survive. But war finds a way to get inside the steel box. It enters through the ears. I didn't turn off the radio. That is my mistake. Or my punishment. Wireless set number 19 continues to work on receive, and the headset speakers broadcast death live. First comes the sound from outside. The walls of the ravine work like a giant horn, amplifying the acoustics of the battle going on upstairs. It is a strange, distorted symphony. The knock of German Pak 40s, dry, whipping, rhythmic. They work like a metronome, once every 4 seconds. Shot. Silence. The sound of a slug hitting armor, a dull, heavy gong that vibrates even the air down here. Then, a grinding noise. That is the sound of metal tearing under the pressure of kinetic energy.
I know that sound. That is how steel screams when it is violated by a tungsten core. "Birch 2, answer!" the voice on the air rasps, gurgles. That is the gunner from Lieutenant Petrov's tank. "We have a track. Driver, he's gone. Half his body is gone." Crackle, hissing, and a new sound covering the airwaves. A howl. Not human. That is how a transmission howls when an engine goes into runaway or when flames get to the fuel tanks, creating a draft. We sit in the gloom.
Light is provided only by a dim emergency bulb and the greenish glow of the radio scale. I look at my people. The loader has clamped his hands over his ears, right over the headset, squeezed his eyes shut so tight his face has turned into a mask of pain. The mechanic stares at one point. His lips move, but he makes no sound. He is counting shots. Up there, an execution is taking place. The Germans aren't fussing. They realized the Russian tanks have stopped. The T-34s are spinning wheels in the clay, turned into stationary pillboxes. The T-70s are burning. Now German artillerymen are simply choosing targets. It's a shooting gallery. They hit vulnerable spots: the turret ring, the side, the gun mantlet. "Goodbye, brothers." A quiet, calm voice. I don't even recognize the call sign. Click of the switch, and immediately the sound of an explosion breaking through the air, short and final. Detonation of the ammo rack. I imagine 45mm shells bursting inside the cramped fighting compartment of a T-70. It is instant death. There won't even be anything to bury, just ash and melted buttons at the bottom of a steel coffin. The auditory picture changes. To the thumping of cannons, a frequent, angry rattle is added. Machine guns. MG-34s and 42s. They have a characteristic rate of fire, like the sound of tearing fabric. Hitler's buzzsaw. They're cutting down those trying to get out of burning machines. I hear it through open hatches, through the microphones of those who are still alive and transmitting. "Don't shoot! Bastards, don't shoot!" A scream breaks into a squeal. A burst cuts off the scream. Silence. I physically feel every miss and every hit. I know the geometry of the battlefield. We are standing below, in safety, but my memory draws the trajectories. There, that shot. That's at Sokolov's T-34. The sound of impact was ringing, a ricochet. The turret held. And the next one, dull, squelching. Penetration, probably under the turret ring. It gets stuffy in the tank. Not from heat. The engine is cooling, the metal is icy. Stuffy from the smell of our own sweat. It is the acrid, sour smell of animal fear that the human body releases when it understands that death walks nearby, behind a thin bulkhead of reality. We are observers. We sit in the front row of an amphitheater where our friends are being killed, but we cannot intervene. We have no right to intervene now, because then we will simply add another burning skeleton to the pile. The airwaves begin to empty. First, hysterical cries for help disappear. Then, reports of damage vanish. Only white noise remains, and rare, abrupt commands in German that sometimes break through on our wave. "Birch 1. The voice of Company Commander Sokolov is barely audible. He is weak, very weak. To everyone who hears, height not taken. My fault. Pause. A long, dragging pause, in which heavy, wet breathing is audible. Maybe a lung is punctured. Blood is coming out the throat. "Korneyev," he whispers. "If you are alive, if you left, don't forgive. Static covers his words. The connection breaks. The green light on the radio panel blinks, showing the presence of a carrier frequency, but there is no modulation anymore. Birch 1 has gone silent. Now only sounds from outside are heard. The intensity of fire drops. Guns fire less often, finishing off the wounded. Machine guns fall silent. The Germans are saving ammo. The job is done. The field is cleared. 8 tanks, 25 people. It's all over in 15 minutes. 15 minutes of audio hell that we sat through in a pit, clutching levers and the breach. Silence returns, but now it is different. It is not the silence of waiting, like before a battle. It is the silence of a cemetery. Dead, heavy silence, broken only by the crackle of burning metal and distant pops of exploding ammo and burnt vehicles. I take off the headset. My ears hurt from the pressure of the membranes. Blood pounds in my temples. It seems to me that I still hear those screams. They are stuck somewhere in the subcortex, recorded on the magnetic tape of memory. I look at my hands. They lie on my knees, clenched into fists. Knuckles are white. Skin is stretched so tight it seems it will burst right now. We are alive. We saved the combat unit. We saved 3 lives. The stats of our tank allowed us to leave, and my command saved us from a frontal execution. But why then is there such a distinct taste of bile and ash in my mouth? Why does it seem to me that it would have been better if I had burned up there with Sokolov than sit here, in this damp, safe, God and people-forsaken pit, listening to my battalion die? This is the price of rationality. This is the arithmetic of war, where the sum of survivors is not always equal to the sum of winners. Sometimes survival looks like betrayal. Sometimes it is betrayal. But we have no time for reflection. Reflection is for writers in the rear. For us, there is only the next task. The Germans will relax now. They are sure they destroyed everyone. They will inspect trophies, finish off the wounded, write reports about victory. They will lose vigilance. They will open hatches. And then, our part of the work will begin. The very part for which I forced my crew to go through this shame of observers. I put the headset back on. The crackle of static calms. It is the sound of emptiness. Emptiness that we must fill with our action. I check my watch. Only 20 minutes have passed. An eternity. A whole life and a whole death fit into a third of an hour. Ahead is the unknown of the fog and 3 shells in the breach of fate that we are obligated to plant in the target. Silence inside the tank presses on the eardrums harder than the roar of artillery. It is a vacuum. We sit in a steel cocoon, immersed in the viscous fog of the ravine, and listen to the engine cooling. Metal clicks, contracting in the cold. This sound, tick, 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 counts the seconds of our new reality. A reality where we are alive and the battalion is dead. Inside the fighting compartment smells not only of diesel and gunpowder fumes soaked into clothes, but also of something sour, heavy. It is the smell of sweat of 3 adult men locked in a volume of 2 cubic meters. The smell of wet sheepskin and unwashed bodies. But now, an acute, metallic taste of adrenaline withdrawal is mixed in. Loader Ryabov sits on the fold-down seat, hunched over, face buried in his palms. His shoulders are shaking. He isn't just crying. He is being shaken by large, internal tremors. He is only 19. He believed in the political officer, believed in newspaper articles about heroism, believed that dying for the motherland is the highest honor. And today I forced him to survive, contrary to regulations. In his coordinate system, I destroyed the world. Bitch! A whisper breaks through his fingers. What a bitch you are, Sergeant. I slowly turn my head. My neck is stiff, muscles wooden. In the gloom, diluted by the dim light of the dome lamp, I see his eyes. There is no fear of the enemy in them. In them is hatred. Pure, concentrated hatred for the man who, in his opinion, stole his honor. We abandoned them. Ryabov lifts his head, and his voice breaks into a squeal. They were burning there, screaming, and we hid in a hole like rats. Did you hear the captain? Did you hear? He cursed us. The driver mechanic in the front compartment is silent. He sits with his back to us, head pulled into his shoulders. He doesn't want to participate in this conversation. He is just glad his lungs are still pumping air, not hot smoke. But I feel his tension. He is waiting to see how the mutiny ends. Shut up, I say calmly. My voice sounds hollow, as if from a barrel. Save the hysterics for the special officer. Right now, you are a combat unit. I am not a unit! Ryabov yells, jumping up. In the cramped turret, he immediately hits his head on the gun breech, but doesn't notice the pain. I am a human being, and you are a traitor. You are a coward, Korneyev. Better they burned us there than like this, hiding our eyes. How am I going to look people in the eye now? How? He grabs a shell from the rack, as if he wants to hit me with it. This is the edge. In the enclosed space of a tank, psychosis is contagious. If I don't crush this madness now, the crew will cease to exist. We will become just 3 madmen in an iron box. I make a sharp movement. A backhand blow to the face, short, cruel, sobering. Ryabov's head snaps back. He hits the back of his head on the armor and slumps onto the seat. The shell falls onto the ribbed floor with a clang. Listen here! I loom over him, grab him by the lapels of his jacket and pull him towards me. Our faces are centimeters apart. I see dilated pupils, see a vein pulsing on his temple. You think heroism is dying senselessly, turning into shish kebab for a check mark in a report? The captain is dead. Petrov is dead. Everyone is dead. Their guns don't shoot anymore. They are scrap metal. And we are not. I push him away. Ryabov breathes heavily, gasping for air like a fish thrown onto ice. Turn on your brain, Private, I continue. Quieter now, but harder. Germans are pedantic. They are professionals. They know 8 tanks went into attack. 7 are burning. Where is the 8th? They aren't idiots. They know how to count to 8. They saw us slide into the ravine. Silence hangs in the tank. The mechanic slowly turns to us. The meaning of my word starts to reach him. They think we are out of action, I say, hammering out every word. They think we got stuck, flipped over, or the crew abandoned the machine. But they won't leave it just like that. Their regulations say, clearing the battlefield. They have to make sure. I run my hand along the breech of the 40mm. The cold steel calms. They won't climb down here with infantry. Mud up to the knees, bushes, visibility 0. Infantry has nothing to do here. They will send tanks, 3s or 4s. But they won't go along the bottom like us. They'll be afraid to get stuck. I point a finger up at the imaginary edge of the ravine. They will go there, along the top, along the hard edge. They will look down, look for us, to shoot us like in a gallery, from top down. They will feel like masters of the situation. They will be sure that we are prey, cornered, terrified,
helpless prey.
Ryabov wipes blood from his split lip. In his eyes, hatred is replaced by understanding. Terrible understanding that we didn't save ourselves. We just delayed the sentence. "So what do we do?" the mechanic asks hoarsely. "If they are above, they have the advantage. They'll hit us in the turret roof. The armor is thin there, 20 millimeters. Smash it like plywood." "Exactly," I nod. "If we stand and wait, they'll burn us. But we won't wait." I take out the map. It is worn at the folds. Oil stains cover the names of villages, but I remember the terrain by heart. The ravine makes a turn in 200 meters. There is a ledge there, a step. If we position ourselves there, we will be below the level of the edge, but the barrel will look slightly up. Along the slope. I look at Ryabov. "You wanted to redeem guilt? You wanted heroism? You'll get it. We will set an ambush. The only chance for a Valentine against a Panzer IV is a point-blank shot. In the side, from spitting distance." I see the loader's face change. Hysteria leaves, displaced by the cold horror of what is coming. This is no longer abstract fear of shame. This is concrete, physiological fear of a fight with a machine that is twice as heavy and powerful as us. They will go broadside to us, looking at the bottom. I explain the mechanics of the fight. They will expose their 30 millimeters of side armor to our 40 millimeter slug. It's physics. If we strike first, if we strike accurately, we will punch through. "And if there are 2 of them? Or 3? The mechanic asks. "Then we die," I answer simply. But we die not like cattle at a slaughterhouse, but like soldiers. We will take them with us. This is the price of your court-martial, Ryabov. You wanted a trial? Here it is. The trial will be here. The judges are German tankers. The lawyer is our gun. Ryabov silently picks up the fallen shell. He wipes it with the sleeve of his jacket, wiping dust off the primer. His hands tremble, but he does it mechanically, with a learned movement. Function defeats emotion. He becomes a loader again, a cog in the mechanism of murder. "Armor piercing ready," he says quietly. "Mechanic," I command. "Start it up. Lowest speed. Creep like a cat. No revving. If you roar the engine, I'll strangle you personally. We must become a shadow. We must become part of this ravine." The diesel comes to life reluctantly, as if understanding that this start might be the last. Vibration runs through the hull again, resonating in the soles of boots. We move out. Slowly, inch by inch, grinding greasy clay with tracks. We crawl in the fog to the rendezvous point with death. The atmosphere in the tank has changed. Hatred hasn't gone anywhere. They still hate me for depriving them of an easy death in the general attack and forcing them to live with this burden. But now a hope has mixed into the hatred, the evil, cold hope of a predator who realized he can still tear out the enemy's throat. We are no longer victims. We are a trap. Cocked, rusty, but a deadly trap at the bottom of a pit. And we wait for the German boot to step on the spring. An hour in the ravine lasts longer than the whole life before this moment. Time here loses its usual properties. It ceases to be a linear flow and turns into a viscous, cold substance, like congealing machine oil. 60 minutes of silence. 3,600 heartbeats, each reverberating with a dull thud in the temples. We sit motionless. Any movement is the creak of leather, the clang of a belt buckle on metal, the rustle of a jacket. And sound right now is our main enemy and our only ally. The fog thickens. If half an hour ago I could distinguish a bush 5 meters from the tank, now the world beyond the periscope has disappeared. Only white, impenetrable milk remains. Moisture settles on everything. On eyelashes, on instrument handles, on the cold gun breech. We breathe every other time, trying not to create clouds of steam, although in a sealed tank it is pointless. Condensation drips from the turret ceiling, falling down the collar. Every drop is like an icy needle sticking into the spine, making you shudder. Sensory deprivation drives you crazy. Eyes strain, trying to snatch at least some shadow in the white veil, but the brain starts painting hallucinations. It seems bushes are moving. It seems someone is standing right in front of the muzzle brake. I force myself to close my eyes. Right now, vision is useless. Right now, only hearing works. We have turned into one big ear pressed to the damp earth. Trembling in the hands is impossible to calm. It's not panic, it's biochemistry. Adrenaline, spilled into the blood during our flight, now finds no exit and burns muscles. Fingers vibrate finely, teeth chatter.
Ryabov sits hugging himself, rocking like a pendulum. Forward, back, forward, back. He whispers something soundlessly. I don't interfere. Let him pray, let him curse. The main thing is that he stays silent on the air and doesn't drop the next shell. At first, it sounded like the noise of wind in the treetops. Barely perceptible vibration on the edge of audibility. But there is no wind in the ravine. The sound grew slowly. A heavy, low-frequency hum that makes the diaphragm start to ache. They're coming, the mechanic pronounces with just his lips. I nod. I hear them. This is not the strained howl of our diesels. This is the sated, satisfied purr of gasoline Maybach engines. 12 cylinders, 300 horsepower of German engineering. A sound you can't confuse with anything. It is even, powerful, confident. That is how machinery sounds that feels like the master of the situation. They aren't sneaking. They aren't pausing to listen to the airwaves. They are simply driving, grinding Russian earth with tracks, confident that everyone who could resist is already dead or running. I count the sound sources. 1, 2, 3. 3 heavy machines. 3 Panzerkampfwagen 4s. They are moving in a column, track in track, along the edge of the ravine. I see the map in my head. Up there, the ground is harder. An old field road runs there, convenient for patrolling the perimeter. They are doing exactly what I counted on. They are making the fatal mistake of the winner, underestimating the terrain. For a German commander, this ravine is an impassable swamp, a dirty hole where there is no sense in sticking a 25-ton machine. Therefore, they don't expect a blow from here. They are looking at the field strewn with our burnt tanks, searching for surviving infantrymen. Their turrets are turned there, to the east, and to us, to the foggy abyss of the ravine, they are turned with their most vulnerable spot, the side. The hum becomes deafening. The earth under the Valentine's tracks starts to tremble. It seems they are driving right over our heads. The distance is closing. 300 meters. 200. I put my hand on the turret traverse handwheel. The metal is slippery with condensation. The Valentine has no electric turret drive. Everything is done by hand, by muscle power. It is slow. Painfully slow if you need to throw the barrel from side to side. But right now, we don't need rotation speed. We need the precision of a microsurgeon. Ryabov, I whisper. Get ready. The loader freezes. His pendulum stops. He looks at the breech like at a deity. His hands stop shaking. In a moment of mortal danger, the body remembers hundreds of hours of training. He grabs the bolt handle. Right now, he is not a human with hysteria. Right now, he is an ammo-feeding mechanism. 150 meters.
The sound of motors breaks down into components.
Clatter of tracks is audible, the characteristic ringing sound of German tracks. Squeak of suspension is audible. They're moving slowly, about 10 kilometers per hour, combing the quadrant. I press against the sight brow pad. In the eyepiece, only murky gray haze, but I know where they will appear. To the right, slightly above our eye level, where the bushes thin out. We will have a second, maybe two. Fear disappears. It is displaced by cold, crystal calculation. My whole life shrinks to one point in space and time, to the moment when a gray silhouette with a cross on the side tears the white veil of fog. They are confident in their armor. 30 millimeters of side steel, covered by road wheels and tracks. At a distance of a kilometer, my gun would have just scratched their paint. But here the distance will be point blank. 30 meters, no more. At such a distance, a 2-pounder slug doesn't just penetrate, it sows right through. It turns the insides of a German tank into a meat grinder of red-hot fragments and detonating ammo.
Vasya, I command the mechanic. Foot on the gas. As soon as I shoot, immediately back, sharply. We need to disappear into the fog before they realize where it came from. Understood, Commander. The mechanic's voice is firm. The first shadow appears in the milk. Vague, huge, angular. It floats above us like a ghost ship. The roar of the engine hits the ears even through the armor. I see a long barrel with a muzzle brake. This is a long-barreled 4, Model F2. A serious beast, a tank killer. But right now, it is blind. Its optics look into the distance, and death waits for it under its feet. I start slowly rotating the hand wheel, leading the crosshairs of the sight behind the shadow. My heart beats so hard it seems to be rocking the turret. The main thing is not to shoot early. The main thing is to let him expose his side at the perfect angle. 90 degrees.
Normal impact. No ricochets. The shadow gains flesh. An angular hull floats out of the fog, painted in dark gray, Panzergrau. I see rivets on armor plates. I see spare tracks hung on the side. I see the cross, black and white, neat. It moves straight through the crosshairs of my sight. The second tank follows, about 20 meters behind. The third brings up the rear. Ideal target. Group target. The tactics textbook says, hit the trailing one to create a jam. Survival logic says, hit the first one because he is closest and can spot us sooner. I choose the first. Time stretches to a ringing. I see mud flying off his tracks. I see the commander's cupola. The hatch is open. A German head in a side cap sticks out of it. He is smoking. He calmly looks toward the field, holding a cigarette in his hand. He doesn't even look down into the ravine. For him, we don't exist. We are dead men, written off. My finger lies on the trigger. The pull is stiff. The Valentine is a rough machine, requiring male strength.
For the captain, I exhale. For the guys. The crosshairs freeze at the level of the engine compartment, slightly below the turret. Ammo rack is there. Fuel tanks are there. The life of the tank is there. The world narrows to the diameter of the sight. Sounds disappear. Only the target remains. And my choice. A choice that will make us either heroes or corpses in the next 5 seconds. I press. The shot of the 40mm gun inside the cramped turret of the Valentine feels not like sound, but like a sledgehammer blow to the whole body simultaneously. Pressure jumps instantly. The air compresses, hits the ears even through the headset, knocking the breath out. The breech flies back with a clang. A short, sharp recoil, and a heavy brass casing falls with a dull ring onto the ribbed steel floor, smoking and exuding the acrid, sweetish smell of burnt cordite.
In the same second, the tank shudders, rocking on the suspension as if from fright. Distance, 30 meters. At such a distance, ballistics aren't needed. The shell doesn't fly in an arc, it goes in a straight line, like a laser beam. Flight time of the slug? Fractions of a second. The human brain is not capable of registering this interval. We hear the shot and the sound of impact together as one cracking tier of reality. The British 2-pounder shell is a solid steel slug. It has no explosives, no clever fuse. It is just a piece of hardened metal accelerated to 800 meters per second. At a distance of a kilometer, it is useless against the frontal armor of a German 4. It would just bounce off, leaving a dent, or shatter into dust. But here, point blank, physics works for us. Kinetic energy at the muzzle is colossal. I didn't tear myself away from the periscope, although the flash of the shot blinded the optics for a moment, turning the fog in front of us into a glowing white wall. But a fraction of a second later, vision returns, and I see the result. The shell entered the side of the German tank exactly in the middle of the hull, slightly below the turret, between the upper return rollers. 30 millimeters of vertical German armor is nothing for such a blow at point-blank range. The steel didn't hold. The slug punched through the side like a red-hot needle pierces a sheet of paper. No ricochet. Clean, terrible penetration. What happens next is a chain reaction. The slug, having pierced the armor, shatters itself and shatters the inner lining of the tank, creating a cloud of red-hot fragments, shrapnel flying at the speed of sound inside a confined space. This whirlwind of death sweeps away everything in its path: hydraulics, wiring, human flesh. But mainly, it finds the rack. In the Panzer IV, the ammo is located along the sides. That is their Achilles heel. The explosion happens instantly. It is not a fiery mushroom like in the movies. It is a sharp, convulsive spasm of a multi-ton machine. Hatches on the turret are blown out by gas pressure. A sheaf of bright, almost white flame bursts out of them, resembling a jet from a gas torch. Death of the crew comes faster than they have time to realize they are attacked. Temperature inside jumps to 1,000 degrees in a second. Detonation of powder charges in casings bloats the hull from inside. "Got him!" Ryabov rasps, but his voice drowns in the clang of the breech. His hands work automatically. He has already rammed a new shell while I was looking at the enemy's death. Click of the lock. The gun is ready. "Back!" I yell to the mechanic. "Vasya, full reverse! Into the fog!" The German tank following behind hasn't understood what happened yet. His commander sees a flash to the right, sees the lead vehicle suddenly jerk and turn into a volcano. But he doesn't see us. We are a ghost. We are a flash in the milk of the fog. The Valentine jerks again. Tracks bite into the clay, throwing clumps of mud forward. The engine roars, choking on diesel. We back up, fast as possible in reverse gear. The low silhouette of the British machine is our salvation. We are lower than the bushes, lower than the level of the road. We disappear into the white gloom just as suddenly as we appeared. Up there, chaos begins. I see in the periscope as the turret of the second German tank starts to rotate feverishly. They are panicking. They are looking for the enemy in the field, thinking it came from there, from Russian positions. It doesn't even occur to them to look under their feet, into the dirty ditch. They shoot blindly, fanning out. Tracers of their machine guns stitch the fog above us, cutting off branches of bushes. The long barrel of their gun spews flame, sending a shell somewhere into the distance, into the void. "Stop!" I command when we crawl about 20 meters deeper into the ravine, hiding behind the turn of the slope.
Kill the engine! Silence falls on us like a heavy slab. But now it is different. Now adrenaline of victory rings in it. Nearby, the crackling and humming of flames in the knocked-out German tank is audible. Ammo explosions continue. Dry, booming pops inside the steel womb. These are sounds of agony. "We got him! We got him!" the mechanic whispers. His teeth are chattering, but now it's not from fear, but from excitement. "With one shot, Comrade Sergeant! With one!" "Don't relax," I cut him off. "There are two more. The second one is flailing right now. The third, the rear guard, most likely stopped. They lost their commander. Their comms are broken. Right now they are deaf and blind. There is a smell of gunpowder in the tank. The fan isn't coping, and blue smoke hangs under the turret ceiling. My hands are shaking as I wipe the optics. That was a perfect shot. Textbook. Cold-blooded. We used the only chance our vehicle's stats gave us. Stealth and rate of fire. The 40mm gun has no HE shells to fight infantry, but as a hole punch, it is flawless. At this distance, it penetrates more than stated in the passport. We just proved that caliber size doesn't matter if you have tactical advantage. We turned their strength, powerful, heavy armor and long guns, into their weakness. They were too big, too visible, and too overconfident. "Vyebov," I turned to the loader. His face is sooty, eyes burning with a feverish shine. "What's in the barrel?" "Armor-piercing, Commander." "Good job." I look at the map. We shifted. Now we are slightly to the left of their column. The second tank, which started shooting into the field, exposed its stern to us. He turned the turret to the east, but the hull remained on the road. He is trying to maneuver, back up to get out of the fire zone that doesn't actually exist. He thinks the danger is in front, but the danger is behind. They broke the main rule. In an unclear situation, don't expose your back. The engine compartment of the Panzer is covered by only 20mm of steel. Radiators are there, engine is there, tanks are there. A hit there is a guaranteed fire. The tank will stop, the crew will climb out, under bullets. "Vasya, start her up," I say quietly. Now we work more boldly. They are shell-shocked by fear. While they haven't realized we are in the ravine, we must take the second one. The engine comes to life again. Now its sound seems like music to me. It is no longer the heartbeat of a victim. It is the growl of a predator that has tasted blood. We crawl forward again, to the edge of the ravine, but now from a different point. War is geometry. Angles, vectors, planes. We change the angle of attack. We change the vector of the strike. We impose our geometry on them, where the Valentine is the apex of the triangle of death. I stick to the sight. In the fog, the silhouette of the second tank appears. It is huge. It roars with its engine, trying to turn around on the narrow road. Black smoke pours from the exhaust pipes. He is spinning his wheels. He is nervous. I see the radiator grill on the stern, see the spare wheel, see the number splashed with mud. This is no longer a duel. It is a hunt of a small, angry beast for a clumsy giant who got tangled in his own legs. My finger lies on the trigger again. This time I don't even doubt. This time I know. Metal will pierce metal. Physics is on my side. Fog is on my side. And the time we won by our cowardly retreat is now working for us. "Fire!" I shout, and the Valentine spits steel into the grey gloom again. The second shot differs from the first. If the first was an execution, the second is a knife in the back in a dark alley. The slug enters the stern of the German tank, tearing apart the louvers of the engine compartment. There is only 20mm of steel there. For a 40mm armor-piercing shell, that is not an obstacle. It is foil. I don't see the penetration itself. A cloud of exhaust hides it. but I see the result. The Panzer jerks as if choking. The roar of its engine cuts off on a high note, replaced by a nasty, grinding screech of tearing metal. A second later, a club of black, oily smoke bursts from the stern. It is not an ammo detonation. It is a fire in the engine compartment. We severed fuel lines, and gasoline gushed onto the hot engine block. The crew of the second machine is still alive. Their turret starts rotating feverishly, trying to find the offender. But they are blind. Smoke from their own engine obscures their optics, and our Valentine has already vanished.
Let's go! My voice in the throat mic sounds dry, without emotion. Vasya, hard left, into the bushes. Don't let them zero in on the sound. The British machine again demonstrates miracles of its strange, leisurely maneuverability. The Valentine can't fly like a BT, and can't crush with mass like a KV. But in this clay hell, its suspension works perfectly. Bogies with springs gently roll over roots and bumps. Tracks with small links find grip where the wide tracks of T-34s turn into skis. We aren't driving. We are flowing along the ravine bottom, changing position. It is a dance in the mud. A slow, heavy, deadly dance. Up above, panic begins. The third German tank, bringing up the rear, opens fire. He doesn't see the target. He is just afraid. Fear forces his gunner to press the trigger of the coaxial machine gun. Tracers fan through the fog above our heads, cutting off tops of bushes. Branches fall onto the armor with a soft thud. They are firing at an area, trying to grope for Russian anti-tank guns that aren't there. It doesn't even occur to them that they are being methodically shot up by a single light tank crawling under their feet. "Loaded!" Ryabov barks. Angry confidence has appeared in his voice. He doesn't whine anymore. He understood the taste of blood. He understood that we are hunters. "Wait," I hold him back. "Let the third one twitch." And the third one twitches. I hear his engine roar. The driver of the last Panzer sees the burning stern of his comrade in front of him and the carcass of the first tank. He understands he fell into a fire sack. Logic suggests the only solution: back. Leave the kill zone, save the machine. But here the third law of war comes into force after ballistics and geometry. Geology. The ground on the ravine edge is treacherous. It holds while you drive straight, but as soon as you start a sharp maneuver, the turf breaks off, exposing clay soapy as lard. The German goes full reverse and simultaneously tries to turn the machine to face the danger with frontal armor. This is a mistake. A fatal mistake of a panicker. 25 tons of German steel on narrow tracks start to slide. The scraping of tracks changes tonality. Now it is not the clang of metal on ground. It is the helpless whine of a spinning transmission. I don't even look into the sight. I just listen. The sound of the motor is strained. It howls at limit RPMs, but there is no movement. "Stuck," states mechanic Vasya. "Belly landed the bastard. Hear it, Commander? Tracks spinning freely." I raise the periscope. The wind raised by the fire of the second tank disperses the fog a little. I see the silhouette of the third one. It stands tilted, nose pointed at the sky, stern sliding towards us. He tore off the turf and is now burying himself. The more he gasses, the deeper he sits with his belly in the liquid mud. He is immobilized. His gun looks at the zenith, useless as a telegraph pole.
The second tank is burning for real now. Flames reached the ammo rack, and sheaves of sparks start beating from the hatches. The crew is bailing out. I see figures in black overalls falling into the mud, crawling away from the bonfire. I have no fragmentation shells. I can't cover them with HE. I can only watch them run. My Besa machine gun is silent. No sense wasting a belt on infantry that is already out of the game. Let them run. Let them tell their own that death lives in this ravine. "Third one opening hatches!" yells Ryabov. Indeed, the crew of the stuck tank didn't wait for their turn. They heard how the first one died. They see how the second one burns. They understand they are sitting in a stationary target, and the next armor-piercing slug will fly into their side any second. Nerves fail. German composure, vaunted discipline. All this crumbles into dust when you are left one-on-one with an invisible killer in the fog. Turret hatches fling open. 5 tankers spill out like peas onto the ground and disappear into the bushes, abandoning a completely intact combat-ready machine. Fear turned out to be more effective than a shell. We defeated the third tank without firing a single shot at it. This is a pure victory of psychology and terrain over technology. Silence falls in the ravine again, broken only by the crackle of fire. 2 torches on the edge shine through the fog with orange spots. "Stand down," I say, leaning back against the seat back. My back is wet, hands shaking so much I can't unbutton the collar of my tunic. We did it. 3 German 4s. Terror of the fields. The best tanks of the Wehrmacht at this moment. And us. 3 people in a tin can with a hole punch instead of a gun. We destroyed them not with heroism. We destroyed them because I knew the map, knew the capabilities of my machine, and knew that a German, confident of victory, becomes careless. "Sergeant," Ryabov's voice trembles, but now something resembling reverent horror sounds in it. "We got them all. All 3. "Not us," I correct. "Their own overconfidence killed them. And our mud. We just pulled the trigger." I look at my watch. Only 40 minutes have passed since the start of the attack. The battalion is destroyed. Sokolov's company burned. Hill 208 is not taken. But here, on a narrow sector of the front, in a nameless ravine, we won our little private war. We saved the tank. We saved lives. And we inflicted damage on the enemy that exceeds our own cost by 3 times. This is war. Not beautiful attacks with unfurled banners, but dirty, hard work in a pit, where the one who knows how to wait and stab in the back survives. "Vasya, kill it," I command. "Listen to the air. Need to understand what's upstairs." The engine goes silent. Now it is audible how upstairs, on the road, ammo is exploding in the second tank. Bang, 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 like fireworks. Fireworks in honor of our dead company. But there is no joy, only emptiness. Heavy, leaden feeling of fatigue. I know this isn't the end yet. We need to get out. We need to return to our own. And that will be the hardest test. Because there, among our own, they aren't waiting for us as winners. They are waiting for us as those who survived where everyone died. And survivors are loved less than dead heroes. A dead hero is convenient. He is silent and serves as an example. A living witness of defeat is a problem. "Commander," the mechanic asks quietly, "what will we say? You know, when we get back?" "The truth," I answer, taking out a cigarette. Hands are still shaking and the match breaks. "We'll say we executed a maneuver, that we took a position, that we destroyed the enemy." "Will they believe it?" Ryabov doubts. "The commissar, he saw us backing up." "They'll believe it." I finally light up and take a deep drag. The acrid smoke of cheap tobacco seems the tastiest thing I've tasted in my life. Because we have proof. There they are, burning. 2 bonfires and 1 gift for the salvage team. Against such an argument, even a court-martial will shut up. I look into the periscope at the smoldering skeletons. Chaos in the fog has ended. Now only the math of war remains. 3-1. In our favor. But in the total score, we are still deep in the red. 8 of our crews against 3 German ones. The exchange is not in our favor. But if we had gone head-on, the score would be 8-0. I saved a 1. A small, pathetic 1 in the equation of death. And that is enough for me not to put a bullet in my temple. Returning to our own turns out to be scarier than sitting in ambush.
When you are in battle, you have an enemy. Understandable, alien, speaking another language. You know he wants to kill you, and you pay him in kind. It's a fair deal. But when you turn the turret to travel position and crawl back to the infantry trenches, you enter a zone where rules change. Here you are judged not by fire efficiency, but by the amount of mud and blood on your tunic. And ours are clean. My Valentine climbs out of the ravine, roaring strainedly with the diesel. Tracks slide on the clay slope, but British steel pulls through. We come out onto the plateau to where this damned attack started 40 minutes ago. The fog starts to tear into shreds like old rags. Wind drives it away, revealing the panorama of what is left of the Second Company. It is not a battlefield. It is a graveyard of machinery. 7 black, smoking bonfires. Commander Sokolov's T-34 stands with its gun buried in the ground. The driver's hatch is torn off by an explosion, thick, oily smoke still pouring from inside. T-70s burn down like matchboxes. Around them, snow and clay are mixed into a black mess. Bodies are not visible, either covered by earth from explosions, or they remained inside steel coffins. Silence stands such that the ringing of our tracks seems like sacrilege. We drive past. I look into the periscope and feel like a looter who came to the ashes when the fire is already over. My tank is intact. Not a scratch. Not a single dent. Even the paint on the sides didn't burn, just splattered with mud. Against the background of this slaughter, we look indecently alive. Indecently whole. This raises questions, and I know these questions will be asked of me right now. We approach the line of our trenches. The infantry, which was supposed to support the attack, lies pressed into the parapets. They didn't go forward. They saw tanks burn and stayed put. This saved their lives, but now they need a justification. And the best justification for a soldier who didn't follow an order is to find someone to blame. Someone who betrayed. Someone who didn't die with everyone else. I kill the engine about 20 meters from the command bunker. The diesel goes quiet with a soft exhale. The hatch clangs. I climb out. Cold November air burns lungs after the stale atmosphere of the fighting compartment. Legs are cotton, knees buckle. I jump onto the armor, then to the ground. Boots squelch in the slush. They are looking at me. Dozens of eyes. From trenches, from behind bushes, from pillbox embrasures. The looks are heavy, gloomy, prickly. There is no joy in them that someone returned. In them is suspicion. I see soldiers' faces, gray from lack of sleep and cold, smeared with soot. Someone has a bandaged head, a dark stain showing through the bandages. They look at my clean sheepskin coat, at my whole tank, and I physically feel their hatred.
Alive. Someone's voice drifts over, full of poison. Look at that. Didn't even get sooted. A man in a long greatcoat is walking towards me. the political officer. I know him, Battalion Commissar, whose last name no one remembers, only the rank. He survived. Of course he survived. He watched the attack through binoculars from cover. His face is twisted with rage, lips shaking. He strides widely, splashing mud, hand on the holster of his TT pistol. "Korneyev!" His scream cuts ears. "Bastard! Traitor!" Ryabov and the mechanic climb out of hatches, but stay on the armor. They are afraid to come down. They see the commissar and instinctively press against the turret like the only protector. I stand on the ground alone. The commissar flies up to me, grabs me by the lapels. He smells of tobacco and cologne, a strange, peaceful smell, out of place here, amid corpse fumes. "Where is the company?" he yells in my face, spraying spit. "Where is Sokolov? Why are you here?
Why aren't you there, with them?"
I'm silent. I look him in the eyes. In them is fear. Fear of responsibility for the failed attack. He needs to write a report. He needs to explain to HQ why 8 tanks burned and the hill wasn't taken. And for him, I am the ideal scapegoat. A coward who ran, broke formation, and thereby ruined the attack. It's a convenient version. Coherent. "I saw," he continues, shaking me. "I saw you turn around, how you backed into the ravine. Everyone was dying, going to their death, and you were saving your hide? Court-martial. I'll shoot you right here, in front of the formation. For cowardice and treason against the motherland." Soldiers gather around. They close the ring. Gloomy, silent figures in grey greatcoats. They wait. They need justice. They need to see the blood of the one who turned out smarter than death. This is an ancient instinct of the pack, to tear apart the one who fell out of the common rhythm, even if that rhythm led into an abyss. I slowly, very slowly, remove his hands from my collar. My fingers in oil and soot leave black marks on his clean wool. "Hands off, Commissar," I say quietly. My voice is hoarse, husky from cigarette smoke and command shouting. "And don't yell. The Germans will hear." "You're going to tell me what to do, deserter?" He draws the pistol. Black barrel of the TT looks at my chest. "On your knees." Ryabov on the armor sobs. The mechanic reaches for the hatch, possibly for a tire iron, but freezes. Against a pistol, a tire iron isn't an argument. "I am not a deserter," I say, looking at the barrel. Strangely, I'm not scared. After looking into the muzzle of a Panzer from 30 meters, this little pistol seems like a child's toy. "I am a tank commander who completed the combat mission." "What mission?" squeals the commissar.
Your mission was to die on the hill, like everyone else. My mission is to destroy the enemy, I cut him off, and not burn in a field for a pretty report. I turn my back to the pistol. It is a risk. He might shoot. But I know he won't shoot. He needs witnesses of my shame, not a corpse that won't say anything. I raise a hand and point to the east, there where the fog finally cleared over the ravine. "Look," I say. "Look there, Commissar. Not in your papers, but at the field." Everyone turns their heads. The Commissar, infantry, my tankers. In the break of the fog, on the edge of the ravine, 3 black columns of smoke are visible. They rise vertically up, thick, greasy. The wind carries the smell of burnt rubber and gasoline. These are not our tanks. Ours are burning closer. These are there, where German positions were 10 minutes ago. "See?" I ask. "Those are 3 German Panzers, Model 4, the very ones that burned our company." Silence changes tonality.
Now it is not the silence of a lynch mob. It is the silence of bewilderment. People can't put facts together. One small, funny British tank with a hole-punch gun returned whole, and 3 German heavy machines are burning. It doesn't fit into their picture of the world, where war is always sacrifice and blood. We hit them in the side, I continued dryly, like at a lecture in training. Through the ravine. While they were shooting ours head-on, we shot them point-blank. 3 machines. 2 destroyed, 1 abandoned by the crew. The hill is free of armor. Infantry can go. Machine guns aren't there anymore. The commissar lowers the pistol. His mouth is slightly open. He looks from me to the smoke in the distance. His template is torn. A hero must be dead or wounded. A hero must overcome. And here I stand, whole, calm, on a whole tank, talking about the physics of combat. You're lying, he whispers, but without confidence now. You couldn't. You have a gun.
45, 40, I correct. 40 millimeters of British steel. Enough if you have brains, not just the rule book in your head. I turn to my crew. Lyabov, Vasya, get down. War is over for today. Kill the radio, close hatches, and find something to eat. Infantrymen part ways. There is no more hatred in their eyes. But love didn't appear there either. Something else appeared. Cold alienation. They look at us like aliens, like sorcerers who cheated death. We became strangers. We survived where they were preparing to die. We violated their ritual of sacrifice with our professionalism. You'll go to court-martial anyway, Korneyev, the commissar says quietly to my back, hiding the pistol. For disobeying a direct order to attack head-on. Winners aren't judged, you say? We'll see. This isn't Europe. We have our own rules here. I don't turn around. I walk to the field kitchen. I don't give a damn about his threats. I know that tomorrow a salvage team will arrive, see German tanks with holes in the sides, and write a report. Paper will endure everything. And the court-martial, well, let them judge. It's harder to judge a living man than to award a dead one. But inside me is emptiness. I look at my hands. They are black from oil. I try to scrub them with a rag, but the dirt has eaten into the skin tightly. Like this feeling of guilt. Guilt that I am right. Guilt that I am alive, and Sokolov is not. The price of rationality turned out to be high. We bought ourselves life, but paid for it with loneliness. Among our own, we are now outcasts. Sly ones. Those who survived. And this brand will burn harder than any German shell. The court-martial didn't happen. War is, first and foremost, bookkeeping, and only then ideology. The next day a salvage team arrived, 2 elderly technicians and a lieutenant with a folder. They crawled through the ravine, cursing the mud, measured the holes in the sides of the German tanks, counted the burnt skeletons, and wrote a report. Arithmetic turned out to be stronger than regulations. 3 destroyed Panzers in exchange for 0 of our losses. This was a debit with credit that satisfied even the special officer. The case of cowardice and disobeying an order quietly dissolved in the paper tape of headquarters, turning into a dry line of a combat report. Sergeant Korneyev's tank, using terrain folds, inflicted fire damage on the enemy. But I didn't become a hero. The Order of the Red Star and For Courage medals went posthumously to the crews that burned on the field. To them, glory, loud speeches of the political officer, and plywood pyramids with stars. To me, suspicious glances and a nickname stuck tight. Fox. In the infantry, they whispered that Korneyev sold his soul, that he is charmed,
that he sat it out while others spilled blood. No one wanted to listen about millimeters of armor and angles of fire. For a Russian soldier raised on sacrifice, survival through retreat is something shameful, unclean. We became outcasts in our own battalion, the Valentine crew that was too smart to die. Evening descends on the front line like a heavy, damp blanket. We sit by a fire lit in an empty diesel drum so the light is invisible from the air. Next to me sits a young lieutenant, fresh from the academy. Brand new uniform, creaky belt, clear eyes burning with a thirst for glory. He arrived to replace Sokolov. He looks at my tank, at the soot-covered muzzle brake, then at me. He is dying to ask, but he is shy before my heavy, empty gaze. "Comrade Sergeant," he finally decides, "is it true what they say? That you, well, backed up?" I slowly turn my head. The fire in the drum casts dancing shadows on my face. I am 25 years old, according to my passport. But from the mirror glued inside the turret, an old man with deep wrinkles around the mouth and gray at the temples looks at me. War ages not by years, but by experienced fear and decisions made. "True, Lieutenant," I answer, tossing a piece of a crate into the fire. "I backed up, and I'll back up again if I have to." The lieutenant frowns. He was taught differently. He was taught not a step back. He was taught to throw himself under tanks with grenades. For him, my words are heresy. "But what about honor?" he whispers hotly. "What about the order? After all, if everyone starts being tricky, who will fight?" I grin. It is an evil, bitter grin that gives the lieutenant chills. Fighting, Lieutenant, doesn't mean dying. It is work. Heavy, dirty, stinking work of destroying enemy manpower and equipment. A dead soldier is a defect in work. It is a broken tool that brings no more use. I take out a pouch, roll a cigarette. Fingers don't tremble anymore. The trembling left, leaving behind stone calm. "Remember, Commander," I say, blowing smoke into the starry sky. "Heroism is often the consequence of someone's mistake. If you have to cover an embrasure with your chest, it means someone didn't suppress the machine gun with artillery before that. If you have to ram, it means you missed or miscalculated the maneuver." The lieutenant is silent, digesting. I see his black and white world crumbling. "Don't look for trouble," I continue, looking him straight in the eye. "Don't look for a beautiful death. There is plenty of it here. It's cheap. Look for a way to complete the task and return. Let them call you a coward for 5 minutes. Let the commissar yell. Let the infantry look askance. But then you will be a living winner all your life. And a dead hero, he is only beautiful in the newspaper. In the ground, he rots just the same as a coward. Only a coward can still shoot, and a hero cannot." I fall silent. The memory of Sokolov hits me in the gut. I remember his voice on the air, his desperation. He was brave. He was a real officer. And he is dead. And I, Sergeant Korneyev, a crafty tanker in an English tin can, sit here, warming my hands and smoking. Is it fair? No. Is it rational? Yes. War doesn't like heroes. It devours them, grinds them up, and spits them out in the form of death notices. War likes professionals. Those who know the specs of their machine down to the last screw. Those who know that a 40mm slug doesn't take the front, but sows the side. Those who know how to wait in the icy slush of a ravine until the enemy makes a mistake. Those who understand that a tank is not a chariot of glory, but an engineering structure with a set of limitations. My Valentine stands a little ways off, a dark lump against the background of the forest. It is cramped. It is cold. It has a weak gun and no HE shells. But it saved us.
Not the armor saved us, but the understanding of how to apply this armor. This is the price of rationality. We paid for life with our reputation. We bought tickets to tomorrow with currency that is not in circulation here. Cold calculation. The lieutenant gets up. He looks confused. My truth is too heavy for him. He walks away into the darkness, to his platoon. Maybe he will forget my words and burn tomorrow in the very first attack. Or maybe, someday, when the order comes to go to slaughter, he will remember Sergeant Korneyev and find his ravine. And then we will have one more whole crew. The fire in the drum burns out. Coals glow crimson, like the eyes of those Panzers in the sight. I know this battle isn't the last. There will be new hills, new insane orders, new German menageries, tigers, panthers. Our 2-pounder will soon become completely useless. We will have to come up with something new. Look for new vulnerabilities. Look like cowards again to strike in the back. But that will be tomorrow. And today we are alive. We saved the combat unit.
And while the tracks turn, while the diesel rattles, and hands can hold levers, we will do our work. Without pathos, without hysterics, without hope for glory. Simply because victory is forged not only by bravery of heart, but also by coldness of mind. And sometimes, to defeat the enemy, you first need to defeat the desire to be a hero in yourself. I throw the butt into the snow. It hisses and goes out. A short sound, like a shot. Period.